the most anticipated games of 2024 on PS4 and PS5. To begin with, both PlayStation 4 and 5 consoles will be visited on January 18th by a very rare guest in the last 10 years, Prince of Persia in a game called The Lost Crown. Not everyone expected the triumphant return of the Prince of Persia series of games, but still it happened in the person of Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown almost 13 years after the release of the previous Prince of Persia, The Forgotten Sands. The gameplay trailer looks very nice and colourful, perhaps not quite in the spirit of the old games. But the point is that the series just started with a wonderful hardcore platformer, and now we can say that she has returned to her roots. Next, on January 25th, a jaw-dropping Japanese action game like a dragon, Infinite Wealth, is released on PlayStation 5. This is another exciting dive into the world of Yakuza. The sequel to the famous Yakuza, Like a Dragon called Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, where every decision you make leads either to wealth or to fall. Hone your skills in the coolest battles and explore the underworld, opening a whole new chapter of history. By the way, not only in Japan this time, but also in the USA. Traditionally, you will be greeted by a powerful emotional drama, where there will be two legendary heroes who were brought together by fate, or something much more sinister. And on January 26th, the PlayStation 5 console will be visited by the bright and brutal fighting game Tekken 8, a continuation of the famous series of fighting games from Bandai Namco, which promises to bring new innovations to the genre and expand the boundaries of traditional fighting games. In Tekken 8, the fist stands against fate. The Tekken series holds the record for the longest storyline in video games. So in Tekken 8, you will find the next part of the tragic story about the world-shaking duels of father and son from the Mishima and Kazama families. Next, on February 2nd, the long-awaited Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, will be released on PlayStation 5. And if you have long dreamed of playing as real brutal villains, then now it is possible. In Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, your team is the well-known Suicide Squad. The main goal will be the same heroic Justice League. Of course, it will not do without bright action and black humor and awesome co-op. Join the recruits of the infamous Task Force X under the command of Amanda Waller, aka Suicide Squad. Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang and the Shark King are forced to embark on a mission to destroy the Justice League. Next, on February 28th, the PlayStation 5 console will be visited by the cooperative game Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons remake. If you played the original Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, then you probably remember it with warmth in your heart and with tears in your eyes. The touching story of two brothers can hardly leave anyone indifferent. So the upcoming remake very openly hints that it's time to remember this story and replay it. In the remake, the developers have improved the characters, greatly modified the graphics for the PS5, improved performance and the gameplay itself in accordance with the latest technological advances. Next, on February 29th, the second part of the large-scale remake of Final Fantasy VII called Rebirth is released on PlayStation 5. We all know and love the games of the Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the second of 3 remakes of the legendary Final Fantasy VII, which takes you into a world where fantasy becomes even brighter and more real. Well, if you are not familiar with this series yet, then this remake is definitely a reason to start playing. The gameplay combines real-time action with elements of strategy and role-playing games. The Rebirth plot unfolds immediately after the end of the remake. Then, approximately on February 29th, Silent Hill 2 Remake is due to be released on PlayStation 5. That is, a completely redesigned legendary second part of Silent Hill released in 2001. If you are familiar with the original game, then you probably remember how your hamstrings are shaking from the first meeting with the Pyramid Head. Now imagine the same thing, but with good graphics and on your favorite console. Cool, right? We will receive a letter from James's late wife again. Hoping to see her again, he goes to the city with which they are connected by memories, Silent Hill. Then on March 20th, the PlayStation 5 console will visit Alone in the Dark. That is, another remake of the legendary game is on the way, the famous Alone in the Dark, which is expected to be released in the spring. The sinister mansion will not just be highly polygonal, the developers promise a real rethink of the original game. In general, it's the best thing for those who like to tickle their nerves. This declaration of love for the famous original will allow you to see the story again through the eyes of one of the two main characters. Next, on March 22nd, players will receive the game Dragon's Dogma 2 on the PlayStation 5 console. This is the long-awaited sequel to the notorious Dragon's Dogma. Here you will become Erzin, the Chosen One, who is summoned by fate to confront the powerful dragons and dark forces enveloping the lands of Gransus. A real scope for imagination is at your disposal: swords, bows, and magic. Dragon's Dogma 2 will allow you to choose a vocation and the appropriate fighting style. Outside the city, you will meet a variety of monsters inhabiting these lands. Then on August 20th, the long-awaited hardcore action game Black Myth, Wukong will be released on PlayStation 5. Have you ever heard of the classic Chinese novel Journey to the West? No. But it is on him that the upcoming Black Myth, Wukong, will be based. This is a fabulous adventure that will plunge you not only into Chinese folklore, but also into a great story with a generous amount of action. Set foot on lands unseen, make unexpected discoveries. Next, we will list the cool new items for PlayStation 4 and 5 this year, but so far without an exact release date. In the fall or winter of 2024, the meat shooter Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 will be released on PlayStation 5. The dynamics of the game are very similar to the legendary Gears of War series, so fans of brutal action games need to be ready. And anyway, what could be cooler than being a Space Marine? Be a Space Marine in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. This is exactly what Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 will be about. Also, according to some reports, Death Stranding 2 for PlayStation 5 from industry legend Hideo Kojima may be released this 2024. We hope that you are ready to chant Kojima is a genius everywhere again, because the second part of Death Stranding will also bring a lot of mysteries and plot twists. Yes, you heard right, the work on Death Stranding 2 is so boiling that very soon we will see the continuation of this catchy story. And, of course, there are a lot of jokes about the delivery simulator again. Or this time everything will be very different, we'll see soon. Flintlock will also be released sometime in 2024, The Siege of Dawn. Imagine that you have entered the world of a fantasy post-apocalypse where there is magic, the wrath of the gods, and your own bestiary. Introduced, this is the new Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, billed as a role-playing adventure. The game, by the way, is being developed by the New Zealand studio A44, which previously released the equally cool Ashen. Star Wars Outlaws, a game based on the Star Wars universe, which definitely promises to be good. In Star Wars Outlaws, you will play as a famous criminal, and the events that take place will unfold somewhere between the 5th and 6th episodes of the films. Shootings, robberies, and the light atmosphere of the Wild West are all very intriguing. Rise of the Ronin is a new exclusive for PlayStation 5. Rise of the Ronin is planned as a role-playing action game in the setting of war-torn 19th century Japan. The developers promise an open world immersion in historical events, the Bakumatsu period, and intense battles with complex and interesting mechanics. Little Nightmares 3 for PS4 and PS5. The Little Nightmares series has long been loved by players for both the plot and the atmosphere. Unsurprisingly, the developers soon started thinking about Little Nightmares 3, which was officially announced on August 22, 2023. In the new part, a cooperative network is planned, which was not the case in the previous ones. And, of course, the continuation of the story of the creepy Pale City. Next, Still Wakes the Deep for PS5. So, you find yourself completely alone on a drilling platform in the North Sea. Your colleagues have disappeared somewhere, and a storm is raging around. This is Still Wakes the Deep. The platform is gradually flooding, and you still have to save everyone, if, of course, you make it in time. The developers promise a real atmosphere of decay and horror in the face of an invincible enemy, the elements. Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden for PS5. Banishers actions. Ghosts of New Eden will take players to colonial America in 1695, and you will have to play as two professional Ghostbusters, between whom you can switch. Judging by the trailers, the story will be very touching and catchy. It's worth paying attention for sure. Vampire, The Masquerade, Bloodlines 2. It feels like a vampire. No one believed The Masquerade, Bloodlines 2 at all, including the developers themselves. However, a recent trailer showed that work is actually underway. And yet in 2024 we will see what happens in Seattle, which is overrun by vampire clans and factions. And finally, an excellent roguelike shooter Hades 2 will be released for PS4 and PS5. The first part of Hades, released in 2018, conquered many players. Therefore, it is not surprising that we will see a sequel soon. Hades 2 is a single-player adventure that will once again give us not only the flavor of Greek mythology, but also the coolest plot twists, as well as a lot of completely new mechanics and unique abilities. That's all for now. Let's keep an eye on the new products for PlayStation 4 and 5 to quickly tell you about them. So, if you don't want to miss the cool new games, then subscribe to our channel and we will follow the gaming industry news with you. Until the next video, bye!